Welcome back to another episode of the Main Quest podcast. This is, of course, the number one retro gaming podcast that remembers when DLC was just called a sequel. This is episode 109, and as always, I am your host, Keith. Welcome to, I guess, what I'm calling the unofficial, official month of Matt. I guess I'll explain that in a second. If this is your first time tuning in because we are indeed covering a Super Nintendo game, welcome. And if you pieced out during my Sega Genesis arc and are coming back now that we're diving into Nintendo again, welcome back. A lot's happened since then. And you should know that this show is now entirely powered by the patrons. That is correct. For only $1, you're going to get access to monthly reviews, early episodes, and episode polls. And if you're feeling generous and you want even more content, you can throw down $3, and that's going to get you all of those bonuses, plus a couple other extras, some exclusive shows as well. You can find all of the details at patreon.com/themainquest, or if it's easier for you, and I did make it easier for you, just click the link in the show notes. I know times are tough, so while financial support is never expected, it's always appreciated. Now, about Matt Month. Matt Storm from Fun and Games and the Reignite podcast is riding sidecar with me for the next 2 episodes. They have been on the show before. They were on the Sonic CD episode, and once before that, actually, for a conversation about what makes a game of the year truly a game of the year, which was a incredibly thoughtful and opinion-packed episode with a couple of different takes from all of the panelists. And looking at the schedule, by year's end, Matt just might hold the record for most guest appearances on the show within a single year. Maybe even beating my own brother. And there's a reason for that. I love Matt. They bring a perspective to games that I don't always have. You know, where I am the old man that leans into pessimism, Matt brings a genuine curiosity and optimism to video games. They're literally the yin to my yang. And every time we sit down to talk, it always turns into something special. So let's hit some music and get into our discussion of F-Zero.
I forget that it's a soundboard. Like every time there's some kind of sound in like for the games and stuff, I giggle because they're goofy on intention. And like I keep forgetting that it's a soundboard. Also, I'm always curious every episode what the curse sound will be because you always pick some unique ones. And so I don't even know what, like off the top of my head, a sound effects you could choose. Maybe the health refill machine sound, or it's because there's not a lot of sound effects in the game. It's mostly whooshing.
You would be surprised at how many sound effects I find that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
I get a lot of it from, I don't know the website off the top of my head, but it's basically a sound effects database.
Yeah.
And so you could just download an entire zip file of every sound effect in the game. And some of them will be like sounds from like the beta before it was like released. So stuff that wasn't actually in it. So yeah, I'm kind of curious what I have to work with F-Zero because there's not a ton in here.
No.
There is kind of like the whooshing sounds.
Yeah.
When you like finish a lap.
And maybe like the hitting the edge,
know.
Like when you hit the edge of the track, it like makes like kind of like a zapping sound. But like
that might be a little aggressive, but I don't know. I guess it depends on how aggressive we get.
I'm right. I was going to say, it depends on how aggressive this episode goes. Also, my first solo episode, because I debuted as a guest, not about a topic, with Chris, who I adore, but had to share the spotlight with that asshole.
Yeah, I should say, welcome to the show, Matt from Reignite and the Fun and Games podcast. Welcome once again. I think this might be the closest I've ever had a reoccurring guest, and that will probably continue throughout the year with you specifically. So welcome back. It's good to have you on.
I'm happy to be here. I love the show, and it's funny. I like you as a creator because I don't know what you're thinking half the time, and that's a good thing, right? Like you, yeah, I know, right? Your hot takes. No, I mean we met arguing about Sonic, but like I listened to the Vector Man episode expecting you to think it was only okay, and you really saw what I saw in it growing up, and that was kind of fun for me because that's a game that's, I think, legendarily in that catalog, like since it was a late release, not really thought of that well, I don't think. And so it was just fun to hear you experience that. Also, when you crap on stuff, it can be fun too. So there's that.
So I guess since this is your very first episode returning, and I should say this is your very first episode by yourself, soloing, I guess we can talk about what we've been playing lately. This is kind of fun for me because I don't get to do this very often. Yeah, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing a whole mess of stuff. The burden of someone who actually gets review codes for modern games is that then you kind of have to play them and do something with them. So remind me when this episode will air.
So this is going to be like a late August. So whatever we're playing now, we probably definitely will not be playing by the time this airs.
Perfect. Then I can talk about this game because it's embargoed till the middle of July. So I got a review key for a retro-inspired RPG called Fretless, The Rise of Rifson. It is a turn-based RPG that mixes rhythm game elements, and it's got an 8-bit kind of style aesthetic, but like most modern indie games, it's like vibing with 8-bit, but like does more than a Nintendo could do. And basically, it's got this simple story about a guy named Rob, who's a musician, setting off to compete in a battle of the bands. But in this world, there are like fantastical creatures made of instruments, and you fight with music, and you get a variety of instruments to fight. And then it's when you get into a turn-based battle, it's timed hits a la Mario RPG, but based on the beat and the rhythm. And you get 4 different instruments. I won't spoil them all, but the first 2 you get early on are a acoustic guitar and a slap bass. And the acoustic guitar, when you get into a battle, has like folksy kind of acousticy battle music. But then when you get into a fight with the slap bass, it's funky kind of like bassy music. And like every instrument you get in the game changes the battle music, except for like boss battles. It's really fun. It's a cool little title. I interviewed the dev and the creator of the game at PAX East this past year. Which is what got me excited for it. And so I've been playing a lot of that. I basically mainlined the first 6 hours of the game the day I got the code. And then I've just been picking out little things here and there. I've re-fallen in love with Digimon. I watched it growing up, loved the PlayStation games, which were not good at all. But we accepted what we had. They were not Pokemon games. But there's a newer game that came out on the Vita 10 years ago that's now on Switch called Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. And it's kind of a mix of Persona and Pokemon and monster catching, and it's got like a chapter by chapter story, and it's really fun. I'm enjoying it. It's really cheesy, like a kid's show, but like I'm getting to digivolve all my favorite Digimon from the show that I remember as a kid, and it's been kind of a fun nostalgia trip. And so I've been really into that, and that one I'm just taking my time with. And then the other game I've been playing is a game called Date Everything. I know you're a visual novel connoisseur.
I've been wanting to actually check this out. Yeah. It
is silly as you would expect. So the basic premise of the game is you get fired from your job, and then suddenly someone airdrops these glasses into your house. When you put them on, the glasses become sentient, and a person appears before you, and she explains to you that these glasses allow you to have conversations with all of the inanimate objects in your house. The pitch is friendship. There's more than that because it's a visual novel, but the pitch is friendship. And the first person you meet is Dorian, your front door, voiced by Ben Starr. Ben Starr's character, Dorian, talks about how he prefers friendship to romance, but is open to it. And like you kind of go through the steps of how this works. And basically every day you get a certain amount of energy to interact with inanimate objects in your home and get to know them. And it seems I've only played the intro like hour, but it seems really goofy and really silly. And like the purpose is to date inanimate objects, like by default, and everything is voice acted. I've played a lot of visual novels that have mostly voice acting. There are exceptions to it, like Slay the Princess, which is completely voice acted because that's key to the premise. But like a lot of visual novels either have some or no voice acting. Everything, every single character in the entire game, every word of dialogue except the main character that you play as is fully voiced. And that was like the big pitch, this like 50 plus cast of voice actors, famous ones, unknown ones, like a whole run of folks. And it's great. It's really fun. It's really silly. Like if you like goofy video games and visual novels that seem to just have like mini games and like just kind of fun writing, then you would enjoy this. I haven't gotten the sense there's more to it or some bigger plot. I think it's just kind of a relationship builder game, but it seems fun.
Yeah, so is there any kind of like dating mechanics or anything going into it, or is it just purely a visual novel?
So there is a dating mechanic where you can like get to know people and go on dates. It's unclear if there are mini games or how that's conveyed. Like I've only had a few conversations with choice options right now. But it does seem like there's a lot of interactivity, on the small scale, but I don't think it's going to have like any, capital M mechanics in it. Like it doesn't seem like a boyfriend dungeon to that respect, like where you're dungeon
That's what
crawling.
I was kind of thinking. Like when I heard of the premise of it, I was like, oh, this kind of sounds like boyfriend dungeon without the dungeon crawling.
Yeah. And so
I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with like a pure like dating sim, but if there's really no kind of dating simulation in it and it's kind of more of just like, it's just a straight visual novel, that lessens it just a little bit for me, if I'm going to be honest. But.
So it's definitely a dating sim. You can either date, you can either become romantically involved, become friends, or become hated. Like there's actually a way to like get characters to dislike you. And so that I thought was interesting. So there's definitely a dating mechanic. I just don't know quite how it shakes out. I'm assuming like a lot of visual novels, unlike other visual novels, you won't have to just pick one. I assume it's called Date Everything. They're going to let you be as poly as you'd like. But it seems cool. And I love the character designs and the animations. And like every time I look at a new inanimate object and it comes to life, like how it looks as like a humanoid is always really interesting, how they integrate the inanimate object into the costume or the outfit. I think if you were curious about it, it's definitely worth checking out for sure.
I'm glad they found something suitable for Ben Starr to voice.
I know. Yes.
A piece of wood. Sorry, I hated everything about Final Fantasy XVI. Going back to that first game you were talking about, Fretless.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Have you played Mother 3?
So I have not. So the Earthbound series is like the big shame spot for me. Like I started Earthbound last year and got pretty far in it. Unfortunately, that game is really hard. And so I decided after getting sort of to like a stuck point on the NSO, I was going to replay it through totally legal means on my PC and maybe use some Game Genie codes to like not worry about health or anything and just kind of see the story. Because I know that's what makes Earthbound is the story, the challenge, give or take. And I mean, I love grinding. Yeah. And I love Undertale and I love Deltarune, what I've played of it. And so like, I know I'll enjoy, and I enjoyed what I played of it. I got through like the first area. But I have not. And so no, I haven't played Mother 3. I do have on my analog pocket a ROM of the translated like ROM hack version because they made a Game Boy Advance ROM of it because you can also buy like repro cards. And so I have it and I've like played around with it, but yeah, I've never played it and I've always wanted to. I've heard it's incredible.
I mean, the great thing about the Mother series is that they're directly relate to each other, but don't at the same time. And Mother 3 has like these rhythm mechanics to it, which is why I brought up Mother 3 in the first place, because you said Fretless kind of has like these rhythm mechanics in the battle system. Man, if you think Earthbound is hard, Mother 3 is like the difficulty curve. Like it's not even like a curve. It's just a drop. Like it gets really hard really fast. Man, and I played that game like the first time I played Mother 3 was like on mobile. I like downloaded just an emulator on my phone, and the touch controls on my screen, like the, what do you want to call it? Delay. Yeah. Like the button delay. Like completely just nullified the battle system. Like it was unplayable. So it wasn't until I got my 3DS and loaded Mother 3 onto that, and I finally played it and got through it, but it was still like really tough. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this just wasn't a problem with my phone. I'm not sure, but great game. I highly recommend it. It wasn't like, I think I have the nostalgia for Earthbound a little bit more, so I think I just naturally like it more than Mother 3, but still very good. Still very good.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play it. It's on that short list, you know, because none of us have any games to play. It's not like games are coming out all the time, so.
Right, yeah. We're not here to talk about rhythm games or anything like that. We're here to go fast, and for once, I'm not having you here to talk about Sonic, but something else that's supposed to go fast.
Yeah.
Today, we played F-Zero. And so, as I like to do with every episode, I like to talk about our previous history with the game. And Matt, I'll go with you first. What is your previous history with F-Zero?
So F-Zero is a game that I got with my Super NES, or like around when I got my Super NES, my SNES. I was late to the SNES game. I got one of the Square units. So I think that's around when Donkey Kong Country came out. So maybe 96, or maybe earlier. Maybe, I don't even remember the timeline of that. But I got it pretty late. And so I got a bunch of games with it around the holiday that year, along with Donkey Kong Country, which was the game that made me want to get it. And F-Zero was one of them. It was just a cool looking racing game. I had remembered playing it at a friend's house a bunch in small bits. And so I got it. And, I think I said to you before we recorded, this is my favorite game that I'm terrible at, because I am so bad. I'm bad at racing games in general, like even Mario Kart, I'm no ace at. And so, but I like the event of those games. And like F-Zero was one of those games that like, it was just fun to play. The act of playing the game was fun. The way the races were set up, like you could get a lot out of only doing a couple of stages over and over again, especially when you're younger. And so I was pretty fond of this game as a kid. And then many years would go by before I'd play it again. I think when it first came to NSO on the Switch, I replayed it and was like, oh, I'm still bad at it. And then I did replay it for this episode. But yeah, I don't remember exactly when I got it, but it was definitely way after it came out, because again, I didn't get the I got the Sega Genesis first. I got the Square. I like Square consoles, apparently. I got the Square Genesis also, although that came out much earlier in the Genesis's life cycle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, and so that was like my first love, which explains a lot. I wouldn't go on to play the SNES till much later, but again, F-Zero is one of those games that was like in that initial run of getting games.
To be fair, Mario Kart's more of like a party game than a racing game, a real racing game. Right. Everybody's got a shot at winning.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've been covering a lot of racing games as of late. Like I'm in that era right now. Surprisingly, F-Zero wasn't a game that really stuck with me when I was a kid. So we got a Super Nintendo at launch. We only had 2 games. We had the pack-in, which was Super Mario World, and then we also got F-Zero. And I just remember, I mean, I was blown away by Super Mario World and this, but like this, like a little more so, just because, I mean, it was literally designed to be a technical showpiece, and it was like, it did that. And just like the visuals, the sound was just like, I mean, sometimes I would just play the game just so I could crash the ship because like the explosion is so violent that I was just like, as a little kid, I'm like, hell yeah. You know, car goes boom.
It's the simple things.
But because we only had like Super Mario World, which I got a lot of play out of, I played the hell out of that. But we also had a Sega Genesis at the time. Something about F-Zero just didn't stick with me. I never really played it past that beginner difficulty. Even today, I didn't play it past the beginner difficulty because it's just like, I got what I wanted out of the game. And if I was going to play something that had like a little more substance to it, I probably would have gone to play Sonic because that was at the time equally as fast, right?
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, since my childhood, I've come back to it like multiple times. And every single time I really don't play it past like the first like 2 cups.
Yeah.
And never go beyond like beginner. And that's not because of like, I don't want that to sound like a bad thing. It's just like one of those things where it was like, I came to get what I wanted. I got it. And now I'm done, you know? As for the development history for F-Zero, F-Zero is a racing game developed by Nintendo EAD and published by Nintendo. It is crazy to be talking about Nintendo again, by the way.
Yeah, you've been on a run for Sega.
Yeah, man, I have not spoken those names, Nintendo EAD, in like a very long time. Kind of nice. Also excited to talk about some of the people that worked on the game as well. And like I said before, I mean, this was made to basically be a technical showpiece. It was there to show off specifically Mode 7, which I have covered like a few Super Nintendo games on the show before. So I guess it bears repeating just in case nobody's heard those episodes. Mode 7 was like this little graphical trick that the Super Nintendo could pull off. What it basically did was take a 2D image and make it look 3-dimensional. And then what the Super Nintendo would do was like rotate and scale it and warp these images. And in the context of Sega, I've brought up multiple times that the Genesis could not scale or rotate images or anything like that. Not without special chips being tossed into the carts. So, for example, F-Zero, right? When you start a race, the quote-unquote camera is looking from the top down at the track as just like a flat image, right? And then as it zooms in, the camera shifts behind to like be behind your ship, and that tilts the image and warps it underneath your driver so that it suddenly looks like you are hovering over the landscape, and it makes the game feel dynamic and faster than what it actually is. And like a lot of games on the Super Nintendo took advantage of Mode 7. There's not a lot of games that I can think of that didn't. Or at least like maybe it's sometimes hard for me to determine whether or not like Mode 7 was used in some scaling aspects or not. But if I was going to bring up a similar game, a game that you covered with me, Sonic CD in those special stages, very similar to Mode 7.
Yep.
Because you got a Super Nintendo a little bit later. Mm-hmm. Was this like one of the first games where you saw Mode 7?
Probably. I mean, like, I got this and Donkey Kong Country, and it kills me that I don't have this anymore. I was one of the lucky few who got the Super Mario All-Stars plus Super Mario World.
Nice.
Cartridge, which I unfortunately don't have anymore. But like, to this day, I think the best bundle in gaming, literally some of the best platformers ever made all on one cartridge. And Lost Levels.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I like
shout out.
But like I hadn't seen anything like this. And like what Donkey Kong Country was doing was different. It was also impressive, but in a different way at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like this, like I couldn't comprehend it. It was like, to me, I was like, oh, this is a 3D game. It's not, but it feels like it, right? And like I had played Sonic 3 and Knuckles beforehand and had seen the 3D special stages. And those are meant to also feel 3D, but it was different. There was something about those stages. For one, Sonic's not moving nearly as fast because you're meant to treat it kind of like a puzzle game. And so you can't move as fast. Whereas this, like,
right,
you can control the car, but it feels like you're moving at inhuman speeds. And it was just really impressive how the chip was able to create it. So yeah. And like, then, I mean, I've gone on to play many other games. Like one of my favorite uses of Mode 7 actually is the Super FX chip is Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2. Like the way the enemies stretch and shift and pop and like touch fuzzy, get dizzy, right? Like all of the cool effects they could do with Mode 7. So that game to me feels like the pinnacle of Mode 7, but this was definitely one of the first times I had ever seen it. And it felt like to this day, honestly, playing it for the episode still feels like a magic trick. Like looking at it, I couldn't explain to you how it works. Like it's pretty practical when you broke it down, but like my brain's just going, ooh, cool. Like I just perceive it as still like kind of a magic trick.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country is a good example of where they did not use Mode 7. That entire series, I don't think they use it. Anyway, F-Zero. Matt, did you know that F-Zero actually started out as a sequel to Grand Prix F1 for the Super Famicom, or not Super Famicom, Famicom Disk System?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was that legacy there.
So Grand Prix F1 was just a Japanese only release, and this was just supposed to be like another run-of-the-mill racing game. And I read in an interview of one of the developers, Takaya Imamura, was like in a meeting, and Miyamoto was like, yeah, this game isn't cool enough. and so they like decided to have this pivot. And at the time, Imamura had just come back from the US, and the 1989 Batman movie had like blown up, and he got a lot of the ideas for the design of the ships. I don't know, what are we going to call them? Ships? They're not cars.
No, I'd say they're
hovercrafts.
Hovercrafts, I guess. They're ships. I mean, in the same way that like the R-Wing and Star Fox is a ship, I think, right? And they're about the same size. They're comparable, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think hovercraft doesn't sound as cool as a ship.
I mean, it definitely doesn't.
But also they're like...
But they don't fly, right? They can't take off. They have to be close to the ground. So they are basically hovercrafts. You're right.
Well, if you're 10-year-old me, you are taking off in those ramps and
that's true.
Flying right into the city. Can you just imagine? Because most of the tracks take place above a city. You imagine you're just like at work and all of a sudden a hovercraft comes flying into the office building.
Horrifying.
Yeah, I need to leave this scenario before I make a 9/11 joke. God. Eric's not on this podcast. Shout out to Eric. So that's how they made that pivot to have like this sleek, futuristic design with a lot of the ships. Another reason why they decided to go with ships instead of cars was a hardware limitation thing. In an interview with Miyamoto, he said that like, first of all, he was worried that it would not feel good to play on a D-pad if you're using a car. The feeling would be off. And on top of that, having the wheels turn, having to animate the wheels and like the side view of the car and the smoke and everything would have been pretty detrimental to the performance. So the only solution was to take all that stuff out and make everything float. I think it kind of worked out for them. And I think one of the biggest things, and we're going to talk about this probably more in graphics, is that futuristic like identity to F-Zero. And I guess my question for you is like, if that's not in this game, if it is just another like F1 or racing game, would F-Zero's legacy work out as well as it did?
No, I can say that with like my whole chest. I can't imagine. Like, first of all, there were tons of other racing games like that at the time that maybe didn't look like this, but like, I mean, you've done several racing games already. I mean, think of Road Rash. But no, in all seriousness, like, racing games by this point were pretty much a dime a dozen, like a lot of other genres, right? Everyone kind of had one. There were a bunch of different kinds. Like, you know, Nintendo, the NES had a bunch of racing games too. And so, like, if this ended up becoming another one of those kinds of just you're in a car or a Corvette racing games, I can't imagine it would have been as popular. I mean, if they still made use of the Mode 7 stuff, maybe, because it still would have been a technical showpiece. But I think what gives this personality is how surreal and kind of futuristic and like detached from reality, right? So your brain can just accept it as fact. These cars fly. They slide all over the ground. You know, you blow up when you lose health, right? Like it mixed a lot of things also that a lot of racing games hadn't at the time.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe because I just came off of doing all the Sega Genesis stuff, I have a little bit more of a broader perspective of like the kind of games that were out at this time around 1991. And Sega and Namco were like going at it with each other as far as like the arcades go. They're both constantly trying to one up each other. And that was specifically in the racing game genre. And you know, it's funny because you brought up Road Rash, and that game came out like 2 years after this, I think.
Okay.
And that doesn't look nearly as good as this game does, nor does it play as well. So, as far as, and this is just kind of like one of those things Nintendo does, they kind of just stay in their own lane and are kind of like working over here while everybody else is off doing like something else. And I think that is like a really good, I guess it's a really good comparison point for what F-Zero actually is, because it's not trying to be just another, I mean, yes, it's a racing game, but it definitely has like its own identity. Like it looks different from Outrun. It looks different from Ridge Racer. It looks different from Road Rash. It looks different from Virtua Racing. It's doing its own thing. And I think, yeah, if it did kind of keep just like your basic cars and stuff like that, then it just kind of would have gotten lost in the shuffle a little bit. I do want to shout out the core team that worked on this game. So, of course, we've got Shigeru Miyamoto. Some of these people you may have heard of. You got Kazunori Shimizu, Yasunori Nishida, Takeya Imamura, who I've already mentioned, Naota Ishida, Yomiko Kanki, and Toshihiko Nagaku. And F-Zero was, of course, co-developed along with Pilot Wings. Both games share kind of the same development team. And so they're basically both designed to, again, show off how impressive the Super Nintendo was at the time. F-Zero hit Japan on November 21st, 1990. It launched in the US on August 23rd, 1991, and finally landed in Europe in 1992. As a launch title, it was one of the first games to show off just how different the Super Nintendo was from the Nintendo. It's a lot faster, a lot smoother, and a lot flashier than pretty much we had ever seen before. I mean, I already mentioned that in my personal history about how just blown away I was by both this and Super Mario World. Since then, F-Zero has been ported to the Game Boy Advance, Wii, Wii U, 3DS Virtual Console, and it now lives on Nintendo Switch Online. It technically has 6 sequels. One of them was a Satellaview release.
Yeah.
And then another one was just a Japan-only release on the Game Boy Advance. Technically 5 sequels, I guess. Anyway, the series has been dormant since 2004. Outside of F-Zero 99, which is just the original game repackaged as a battle royale. Have you played this?
I did. I played it when it first came out. I mean, it was as fun as F-Zero was, in the sense that you're just playing F-Zero with a bunch of other people. And like, a lot of people like to make fun of Nintendo for the 99 series. Like, yes, the battle royale trend is tired, but like some cool stuff has come out of it. And like I do still to this day think Tetris 99 is one of the best ways to play Tetris besides Tetris Effect. Like, it's a genuinely fun game.
Agreed.
But like F-Zero 99 was fine. I can see why it was limited. Like, my frustration with F-Zero, it's funny, ironically, the week we're recording this, I'm also recording an episode of Remember 64 about F-Zero X, which was the sequel to this game on the N64. I love this franchise. Again, my favorite franchise that I suck at. I'm bad at all the games, not just this one. But like, it's been dormant, like you said, since the GameCube. GX came out, and that was it. And Game Boy Advance got GP Heroes or GP, and like that was it. Nothing since. And then the like new F-Zero game, it's a battle royale, and I was like, really, Nintendo? Really? Like, maybe it was to test the water. I mean, and we did get a new Metroid on the Switch, so which I never thought was going to happen. A new 2D Metroid, I should be specific. Because everyone's been thirsting for Prime for forever, which I like, but like the 2D is where my heart is. But like, so there's still a chance that maybe on the Switch 2 we could get an F-Zero sequel. I want one desperately, just because it's a pretty solid franchise. I know that's not what this episode's about, but like, this is the starting point, a tech demo that launches a pretty reliably great racing game that has its flaws. And it just bums me out that the game we got on the Switch was F-Zero 99. It's like, yeah, this is fine, but it's not a true sequel or follow-up.
I mean, it's okay to talk about the entire franchise. This is the only F-Zero game I will be talking about on my show, which might not be true because I was reminded earlier that I do have Player versus Podcast, the listener request month. True. So never say never. But it all boils down. The reason why Nintendo won't do anything with F-Zero is, it boils down to basically like they don't have any idea what to do with it. So they're just not going to do anything at all, which is like, again, they had F-Zero 99, but it was kind of like, it's not even, like you said, it's like testing the waters, basically. Like that was like the least amount of like effort put into something. Not to say that people didn't work hard to get that thing off the ground, but at the same time, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like you're right there. You almost did it.
Yeah. I mean, that said, in the year of our Lord 2025, I would have never guessed that I'm getting a proper sequel to Kirby's Air Ride, the best racing game on the GameCube.
True.
A lot of hyperbole in that statement, and I acknowledge it, but it's a fun racing game without a doubt. And like, I'm a champion of that original game on the GameCube. Not a lot of people loved it, but like it has a special place in my heart. And I never thought we'd get a sequel because it was basically a flop from what I remember. Other Kirby spinoffs had done much better. And so like, I just never thought we'd get another one. So the fact that we're getting one on the Switch 2 and that it's within the launch year is mind blowing. So anything's still possible. We could still get an F-Zero game.
You know how like people have you money?
Yeah.
I think Sakurai basically has development where he can just be like, I just want to make this game, so I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nobody's going to stop him.
After basically getting volunteered to make Smash Brothers Ultimate, because it wasn't in development, famously, when they said it was, because it seemed like a sure thing. I'm basically sure that Nintendo was like, yeah, do whatever you want. I mean, he gives up like company secrets, like on his YouTube channel, just talking about development and like, oh yeah, I thought this thing happened. And I talked about like, I don't know. I love Sakurai. Let him do whatever the hell he wants. He's the best.
Right. Yeah. And I will be right alongside you as a Kirby Air Ride apologist.
Yeah, let's go.
I don't understand the hate for that game. But,
me neither.
You know, whatever. I don't know. To wrap up the development for F-Zero, though, the review scores for context, contemporary scores here. Famitsu gave it 35 out of 40. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it 9 out of 10. And Mean Machines gave it 94%. And I completely forgot to look up any real life user reviews, but that's okay. That happens from time to time. But hey, what do you, dear listener, think about F-Zero? This is, of course, Retro Recollections. This is the part of the show where you get to sound off on the game in question. Before Matt and I give our takes, we're going to share the mic with the community to hear what your memories are, your hot takes, or your childhood traumas with this game. Whatever feelings you have that get conjured up here. If you want to be part of a future episode, it's very easy. You just got to hop into the main quest Discord and look for the Retro Recollections channel. And that's where I'm pulling all of these from. The invite link is in the show notes. So come hang out, share your thoughts, and maybe next time you will hear yourself on the show. And we're going to start with Seeky Wisdom, who says, this game is the absolute shiznit. Do I censor shiznit?
I mean, I guess it's technically not a curse, right? I mean, you've said it twice now, so it would be funny to bleep just because we're questioning it and they won't even know what word it is. So there's comedy in that, but otherwise, I don't know.
I'll let it pass this time, Seek. Of all the games I pick up and play regularly, this one is in my top 6.9. Definitely a go-to and must-have for any retro enthusiast. I've played others in this series, but in my opinion, this one is the GOAT in its lineage. It's punishing at higher levels. The other racers rubber band, so you can never relax with a substantial lead. You are always at risk of being overtaken by a single mistake in your racing. That's the challenge to me. That's the point. The other racers aren't even real. They're just obstacles. You're racing the course. You're racing yourself. Get good and race. Thank you, Seek. Next, we have Chris Copleen, of course, from Retro Hangover, who says, Mode 7 Go Vroom. A game that's more fun and holds up better than it has any right to. But that doesn't stop it from ultimately feeling like a tech demo or proof of concept to show off what the SNES can do. Thank you, Chris. And lastly, we have Lethgo of the Afterglow podcast, who says, this game is a blast. It shows the power along with the limits of the early Super Nintendo games. It's a shame they couldn't make a 2-player mode work, but the sense of speed you get playing this is mostly unrivaled on the SNES. Honestly, the next game that I felt a similar sense of speed was Wipeout on the PS1. It's a shame the series has fell off. I would love seeing a modern take. Thank you, Lethco, and I think Matt and I have agreed that yes, we would like a modern take of a F-Zero. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up when we were talking about F-Zero 99 is the fact that this original game does not have 2-player. And I think F-Zero 99 kind of rights that wrong, but it's also like not technically the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're racing other people, but like it's elimination based, and it's like who dies first basically, or gets knocked off the course, or and then you can place as well. But yeah, I mean, it's proper multiplayer for this game in a way that the original never had.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't checked out F-Zero 99 myself. I don't know if I said that already when we were talking about it, but I don't have NSO anymore, so I'm not going to go out of my way to check it out at this point, unfortunately. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you everybody for writing in. Appreciate it.
Do your podcast feel underleveled? Sick of content that doesn't overclock your ear holes? Crack open a cold can of Hell Piss Zero Mercy. It might sound like an energy drink, but it's actually the main quest Patreon attacking your nervous system. For less than the cost of a loose copy of Perfect Weapon, you'll get bonus episodes recorded in an abandoned KB Toys. Early access to episodes before you even know you want them. Listen as your host Keith researches and revisits and re-evaluates retro games with a mix of sarcasm, sincerity, and that thing scientists call good podcasting.
No actual scientists are consulted in the making of this podcast. Good podcasting is not a medically recognized condition, and any resemblance to sincere analysis is purely coincidental.
We gave the main quest Patreon to a test group. We're still sorting out the consequences.
Ever since I joined the Patreon for the Main Quest podcast, Keith has unleashed the beast in me. Ever since the Primal Rage episode, I now go to random children's birthday parties in an inflatable T-Rex costume to brighten their day. And if I sit here, it's Imam.
The Patreon gave me emotions. I do not want them. Please kill me.
It's okay to like a video game.
Join that before the algorithm bans it for being too powerful. Link in the show notes. Or scrawl Main Quest in blood on your nearest Wii U gamepad and whisper Keith 3 times into the mic.
Hell Piss trademark has not been evaluated, approved, or acknowledged by any real government agency. Side effects may include stick drift, polygonal hallucinations, involuntary bricking, aggressive XP drip, LAN party flashbacks, emotional damage caused by hot takes, spontaneous quick time events, and a strong desire to rank every Gex game. Do not consume if you are pregnant, wear deodorant, or currently dating. Contact Dr. Mario if symptoms persist. May permanently overwrite your taste profile. Void where prohibited.
Moving on to story and plot. Matt, did you know that this game has story and plot?
Yeah, it's of the era of an NES and SNES games where the plot is in the instruction manual.
Yeah.
It's very funny too, because you can tell the noobs who played Smash Brothers on the N64, like the noobs were like, who the hell is Captain Falcon? Whereas true warriors like us were like, I know who the hell that is. That's Captain Falcon. He's the best. It's funny if you look on the cover art of the box, you can see Captain Falcon in the Blue Falcon, but like it barely looks like what we know of Captain Falcon now. It kind of looks like him, but it's definitely not the same design.
I'm really happy that you grouped me in with like this very distinct crowd of people who knew who Captain Falcon was.
You had no idea.
So yeah, when I played Smash, I was like, yeah, I know who Ness is, while everybody was like, who the hell is this child?
Yeah.
But I was over there like, who the hell is this Captain Falcon guy? Because that's just how quickly I dropped off of F-Zero. Like,
Sure.
By the time 1999 rolled around, I had completely forgotten.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah, I guess there's a guy driving that car or that ship or whatever. All right, I guess so. Like, I would have never. That was the weirder inclusion, not Ness. I was like, wow, that's a deeper pull than Ness.
And the funny thing about that is, I mean, they're both staples of the franchise now, but Captain Falcon is like a core character of the entire franchise. And it's just very funny when you think about how he's the random driver. And that's why they probably had all those entrances in the original game that they never did later, which bums me out to no end. Like, you start the match and he pulls up in the ship and jumps out. Like, Mario and Luigi come out of pipes, you know, Ness rockets in. Like, the later games, they just kind of like show up, and it's just it's just a bummer. Those little entrance animations were really fun.
Yeah, and the coolest thing about so I wrote down the story verbatim, and there's kind of like two breakdowns here. They kind of like, the first part of the manual kind of sets up what the atmosphere is, what the vibe is, you know, how F-Zero was made by like these bored billionaires, and we're like, yeah, we're just gonna have this racing event where people basically are killing each other.
Right.
So it sets that up. And then at the back of the manual, there's like a full blown comic. And if you're in the Discord, I have a channel that I kind of just toss in like random bits of development history and stuff that I've looked up as I researched the game for the episode. And I think it was Imamura who did the comic book. He drew the comic book, and he still had his original drawings and brought it to this interview that he did. And so I posted some of those pictures, and I was like, oh, I had no idea there was like so much stuff out there. And then I look at the manual and I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, it's crazy. And it's so good. It looks so good. Basically breaking down the comic, Captain Falcon gets in a fight with, Samurai Goro so Samurai Goro and Captain Falcon are both bounty hunters, apparently. And so they get in a fight because Captain Falcon steals one of Goro's bounties or whatever. Captain Falcon was like, get scrub, I'll see you in the race. and that's just basically the entire comic in a nutshell. So, but it's very good. It's like a couple pages long, and obviously it's a little more nuanced than that, but as, you know, 90s story go for a video game, I mean, that's basically what it is. Also, like, I guess everybody in this race is a bounty hunter or something, I guess. I don't know. I think one of the guys is a doctor. I suppose you could be a bounty hunter and have like your PhD. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's only 4 playable cars racers in this game. Later in the series, they will expand it like hell. And also, it's funny you mentioned the library in the Discord. Once you shared the comic, it reminded me that I had to share something from the deep, dark recesses of my brain, which there was also a F-Zero anime called GP Legend that Captain Falcon was the main character of. He has like an evil shadow version of himself that the color scheme is in Smash Brothers. The purple, like dark purples version of him, like, is like this other evil guy. And like, he's like the hero, but he's a bounty hunter. And it's like, it's really cheesy in that way that like 90s and 2000s anime was cheesy. Like, I think of like Samurai Warriors and like the early, you know, Gundam Wing, which I love, but is pretty cheesy at times. Like, it had that kind of vibe, and it's a fun show. The whole English dub is on YouTube by totally legal means, I'm sure. And it's worth a watch. It's really goofy, but I'm entertained by it. But like, when you shared the comic, it reminded me, oh yeah, they made a cartoon too, which is just kind of wild to me that this franchise that's been dormant for so long has had this kind of multimedia treatment. I'm surprised we haven't gotten like a Speed Racer style Wachowski's live action film.
Oh man, come on. Don't do that,
be,
man. Don't. Now I want that.
Right? Like, I love the Wachowski Speed Racer so much, unironically, and like, they would kill an F-Zero movie. They would just absolutely kill it. It would be amazing. It'd be a fever dream.
There you go, Miyamoto. That's something you can do with the franchise. That's something interesting that you can do that you haven't done with F-Zero yet. Just make a movie out of it.
Totally.
I was just like going back to the manual. I mean, there's not much story to talk about here, dear listeners. So sorry if you're a big F-Zero lore head. I just love how much detail, like, this is one of those things that like makes me miss game manuals. This is such a cool manual. It's so awesome. I love when the developers just go that extra mile to like flesh out the world and everything, even though it's like, it's a racing game. It doesn't need it. It's far and away better than anything that we get like in Road Rash. Like when I was like, this game has a story, and it's like the possibly the dumbest story. Like it doesn't even need to have it. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, F-Zero doesn't need a story, but it does. And it's kind of cool. And in the way you talk about like the old school design of Captain Falcon, I mean, he's just Batman. Yeah. You know, he's got like the triangle eyes, white eyes or whatever. You can't, you know, all he needs is basically a cape, you know? So does he have a cape?
I don't think so. Not in the games,
he doesn't.
At least. No.
Yeah. Okay. Also this game has like the thing that I love about a lot of like Japanese games. It has bios for each of the racers.
Yep.
Captain Falcon is in his early 30s, by the way, if you ever needed to know.
God,
if that makes you feel old.
Yeah, so old. Are you kidding?
Matt, show me your moves.
Jesus. Yeah. I'm in my 40s and I feel tired.
Same. Let's talk about the gameplay. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of F-Zero, and I guess I'll just kind of set us up here. So, as a whole, F-Zero is just got a very basic racing structure. There's 3 cups, which are Knight, Queen, and King. Each of those contain 5 tracks. Every race spans 3 laps, and so we've got a total of 15 tracks across the game. We already kind of mentioned some of our racers here. You have 4 vehicles to choose from. You've got the Blue Falcon, which is basically just your run-of-the-mill, standard, all-around balanced stats across the board. The Wild Goose, which has slow top speed, I believe, but can accelerate pretty fast, and it also can tank hits, basically. And then you've got Fire Stingray, which is basically the fastest ship out of all of them, but it has like terrible acceleration. But overall, it's the fastest. It also handles corners pretty well. And then lastly, we've got the Golden Fox, which is pure trash. Absolute trash. Let's not talk about it. Forget it. There's no point.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So each racer has 3 super jets, which are basically just turbos, which replenish with every lap that you complete. And I think what sets F-Zero apart from the other racers at the time are all of its hazards. So I've mentioned the ramps, there's rough terrain, there's icy terrain, eventually there's landmines of all things. And then most notable are the electrified guardrails that line the courses, which, you know, punish people for their sloppy driving. You know, as far as the guardrails go, like the ships take damage very, very fast, much faster. I mean, a lot of racers at this time weren't afraid to have like some sort of damage, but this is like a lot different, because there's not really a pit stop in this game. But near the start of every track, there is a recharge strip, and you can slow down and soak up some of the energy to repair your ship. But more often than not, you're going to want to blast right through that thing and just kind of take what you can get, and hope that you survive the next lap better off than you survive the last one. So that's kind of the basics of F-Zero. Matt, I'll let you take this. What did you think about F-Zero gameplay wise?
I mean, I like it. I think it's really tight and interesting. I think it's a little frustrating. Like, I think it's smart to have, like, you get turbos, but the turbos drain your health a little bit. When you hit other cars, when you hit the walls, when you hit anything, you take damage and have a health bar. And then having these, like, runways where you can heal. Like, no other game has done that since or at that point, right? And so I think it's, like, they came up with a really cool idea to, like, what makes this futuristic, what makes it interesting. In execution, it's a mixed bag. Part of it is my own skill, and I acknowledge that. I'm bad at corners. And to be fair, like, even the cars with the best handling handle like crap on these corners because it's meant to be fast and slick, and you really have to turn at the right time to not hit the walls. But I think it adds kind of this excitement. Like, I can get through the first two stages in the Night Cup pretty easily. I think it's Mute City and then Big Blue. They're the kind of, like, you know, the starter tracks that give you sense of everything. But after that, there's a sand one. I can't remember the name of it. That, like, just is so hard to get through. And, like, eventually they drop the guardrails. You can fall off the side. If you miss the jumps, you fall to your death. Like, all sorts of other stuff. Like, oh, and that's the other thing. You have a life system in this game, right? Like, unlike other racing games where if you crash out, that's it. You've lost the race. In this, at least, if you'll still lose the race, but you start over with the life, and you can do that a certain amount of times before you lose the whole cup. And I think that's an interesting take. I think instead of just flat out losing, you just lose a life and you can try again. And considering it comes from an era where every game had lives or some kind of life system, it makes sense. In the later games, they still have the life system, but also like, you don't, like, in this game, you have to place above a certain place depending on how you placed in the previous race. And if you don't hit that number, you also lose a life. They remove that in the later games. They let you, if you're going to lose, you lose, right? Like, you only lose a life if you crash out or blow up or go off the course or whatever. And I think that's an improvement just so you can see the end of the cup, right? Even if you're 10th place, whatever. I mean, also, like, for F-Zero X, for example, there are 30 racers in that instead of 4. So it's like I never placed above, like, 6th, I think when I replayed it recently, but it was still fun. But, like, in this, there are a lot of cars on the track, but only certain cars are, like, actual cars that you pass to move forward in the race. I think the thing that I liked least about the gameplay is the rubber banding. You know, I understand that it adds to the challenge, but, like, my favorite thing about Mario Kart 64 is, like, getting enough mushrooms and blowing past whoever was in second place into first, and then getting so far into first that you lap last place. Like, that's the fun of a racing game, to, like, kind of outpace the cars and just kind of blow stuff off. And you can't do that in this. The racers are always just behind you.
Yeah, I kind of just want to give my, I guess, racing game expertise on this one, because you're talking about, like, the cornering and stuff like that. And at first, I definitely had to kind of, you know, get my sea legs, so to speak, to really understand what the game was trying to get me to do. Because my natural inclination is when I drift, I want to, like, you have to anticipate the turn. But I noticed, like, with F-Zero, like, if you are drifting and anticipating the curve, you're just going to drift right into the guardrails.
Yep.
What I found interesting was that once you're in the curve, that's when you start drifting. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because that flies in the face of, like, every modern racer that I've ever played. Even with Virtua Racing, which is still, like, a very, like, it's more arcadey than, like, your Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer's pretty arcadey, which also Ridge Racer took a very long time to introduce drifting. Gran Turismo is, I guess, a better example, where it's more of that simulation style of racing. But even Virtua Racing kind of had, like, a very early kind of drift mechanic that felt kind of natural to what a modern racing game is. A little janky, but it worked. Whereas this was, like, completely different. And I think that's because Nintendo had this idea of, like, you have to keep going. And so, like, when you are in that, like, you just swing right into the curve and then you're out. Which also goes in tandem with having to pump the acceleration. And I think there's a name for this. Like a lot of F-Zero heads will know what I'm talking about. But as you take the curve, you don't like press the brake and drift like you usually would in any other type of racing game. There's kind of like this, like you're pumping the gas basically as you're going into the curve, because you will just naturally drop a ton of speed if you're not pressing the gas button. And so that will automatically slow you down. I don't think I ever really had to brake in this game except for the last stage, the lava, I forgot what it's called, like the fire zone or something, whatever it's called, that last stage where it's like every 5 seconds there's like a hairpin turn that you have to take. So you basically, I had to come to like a complete stop, and like that level is hard. It's very difficult. So yeah, I mean, I could see your frustration, especially if you're not, I guess, adverse to playing racing games. But no matter what, as far as the rubber banding goes, I mean, that straight up sucks, which is like a reason why I've never played any of the other difficulties, because why would I want to ever race the AI like that? Which also sucks why this game doesn't have 2-player, because you're always just constantly racing the AI, which also, to bring up the AI again, one of the other obstacles in this game are other just like random cars, which as a kid, I always thought they looked like hamburgers.
A similar shape, sure.
Yes, they're like pretzel buns or something. And like some of them are like radiating, like they basically are like flashing, which indicates that if you hit them, they will blow up and you will take like some serious damage. Those things are probably way more annoying than the guardrails. As a kid, I hated those things. As an adult, I absolutely hated those things.
To be clear, I'm not inexperienced at racing games. I'm just bad at them across the board, but I have played a plethora of racing games. It's funny too. One of the Recollections mentioned Wipeout, which is basically, I would consider a spiritual successor to this game series in the sense that it's very similar. And there's actually a game on the Switch and the Switch 2, Fast Fusion and maybe Fast Frenzy, but Fast Fusion, which is
Frenzy?
Fusion Frenzy. That's it. No, Fusion Frenzy is the Xbox, no, this is Fast Frenzy, I think, or Fast Fusion, but it's a racing game. It's basically a modern Wipeout game.
Oh yeah, Fusion Frenzy is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. The game series is called the Fast series, which is very funny. And the newest one on Nintendo Switch 2 is called Fast Fusion, and it basically is the same kind of like ship racing, like Wipeout and like F-Zero. It's really cool. I've actually been considering picking it up, and it's an indie game. It's like $15. But yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. I think the thing that's really interesting about the drifting in this is that's exactly what I did. The first couple races, I like braced for it, because that's what I do in Mario Kart, which I'd also been playing a lot of at the time, because I got the Switch 2 and Mario Kart World. And like in Mario Kart, you anticipate the turn. Like as you see it coming, you start to drift and then kind of turn into it. And like, that's how you drift in those games. Look, here I'm mansplaining how to drift, and I'm not even a man. But in this game, you can't do that. Like I would do that in this, and I would bounce off the walls because I drift basically into the wall. And it took so long to get used to on my replay to like drift as I was in the turn, which is, like you said, just the kind of the antithesis to what most racing games do. But I think 2-player is the biggest failure of the gameplay of this game. It's just, it would have been so cool to do some kind of split screen. I get why they didn't. I think they had a vision for how this is meant to look and how it's meant to take up the screen, and like they didn't want to muddy any of that. But I am bummed that you can't race against other people in this original game, because I feel like that would be, even if it was just a 2-player mode, not like a 4-player mode, that would be so much fun. And it doesn't exist in this.
I also have to ask, who was your main?
So, I mean, I was pretty faithful to Captain Falcon. I mean, I've liked the character just in general, actually taking in some of the media. But I also like a balanced racer. It's like in either a balanced or a heavy. Like in Mario Kart, I play as either Luigi or Wario, because I either need a balance to make it kind of easier to navigate, because again, bad at these games, or I need a heavy, because the heavies always have the highest top speed, but they're slow to accelerate, but they can also take more hits. Because again, I suck at games. I need more health. I need to be able to take more hits. So I would either play a Samurai Goro or Captain Falcon. And I had mixed success with both of them. I finished the first cup, the night cup, but I couldn't finish the other two. Like I would get to the last race and like crash out or lose all my lives. But those were the ones I played the most. What about you? Did you have a preference of the 4?
So I played all 3 cups with the Blue Falcon. I also was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go the basic route here. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a racing game. And then when I was doing my research and I was even trying to think, like when I was a kid, like who did I play as? And I want to say like I always picked the Wild Goose for some reason, but I did not play as the Wild Goose. But I did find out through my research that low key the Fire Stingray, Samurai, what is his name? I forgot it already.
Samurai Goro?
Yeah, Samurai Goro. His car is low key the best car in the game. And so I went back and played 2 or 3 races with that, and I couldn't get the hang of it. There's a strategy where, and this also can just happen periodically with any of the cars, but one of the racers can bump you from behind and you'll get an extra boost of speed. Yeah. And so because the Fire Stingray has like such poor acceleration, you kind of need to strategize hitting other cars or other cars hitting you rather to get up to speed faster. And so that I found when I did have to drift and kind of like start pumping the acceleration and then I would lose speed, that was just, I was losing all the time. So I'm definitely not good enough to play with the Fire Stingray, even though it is apparently like one of the best cars. So
I didn't change it up too much. It's funny, the different strategies. Like I played, like I said, I mostly played the first cup, and Mute City and Big Blue got first place on both. I was feeling pretty good, pretty cocky. And then I got to the third race and crashed out. And I was like, okay, never mind. This game has put me in my place. But I do like that the first 2 stages are more simplistic and they are kind of geared to give you the hang of the game. And then they ramp it up pretty quick after that. But they do give you that play space to kind of like figure shit out before you move on to the more complicated stuff.
I mean, it's the 3rd track of the first cup, I think, is Deathwind.
Yes.
And they basically just throw this wind mechanic at you, which, again, I haven't played this game in like, 30 years or whatever. So I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with my controller? So I'm like disconnecting my controller, reconnecting it, plugging in a wired controller. And I'm like, what's going on? And then I was like, oh, it's Deathwind. Oh, there's a wind mechanic that shoves you to the left constantly. Okay. That is very hard. And all of the other iterations of that track are very hard. So it's just kind of like, once you get past that track, everything else seems a lot easier except for that final level, in the, Queen Cup. The lava level is, again, it's just the dirtiest racetrack you could probably ever think of. Like, somebody was abused when they made that track. And like, there's, as far as like the recharge strips, this one is like placed at the end of that track. So you've already gone through all this hell and it's at the end of the track, but also it's like in the fork in the road. So you can either take the left side of the road, which has the strip, which also the strip is maybe like the shortest strip in like the entire game, or you can take the right side of the fork and it's just whatever. It's just a generic or whatever straight line to the finish line. And it's just like the strip is like in the most dangerous, one of the most dangerous parts of the track. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is insane. It's so hard. It's so difficult.
It's Firefield, by the way. It's Firefield,
yeah.
In the King League. Well, it's not something that's funny about this game too. I don't know where else to talk about it, but here in the gameplay is I guess in graphics we could have talked about it too, but some of the courses have some of the best names ever, and then some of the courses have some of the worst names ever, and a lot of the courses are sequels to other courses. Some are one and done, but a bunch of them have like, there's Mute City 1 and then Mute City 2.
Wait, Matt, you're telling me there's something problematic with White Land?
1 and 2? You got a sequel?
It's so good they had to do it twice.
But then there's a track called Silence, which is such a badass name for a racetrack.
Yeah. Well, the song, I mean, we're getting to graphics and we're getting to presentation, but I mean, yeah, I mean, some of the tracks, you know, as far as like the gameplay goes, that's the one thing I appreciate about this game is like the tracks are different. I keep going back to Virtua Racing because it's a racing game that I covered recently. And like, yeah, the tracks are different, but like, it's just like I'm driving through a city. You know what I mean? Whereas like, I guess we are talking about presentation, but like each track in F-Zero is like so distinct. Like even the sequels to the tracks have like something in it that differentiates it from the one that came before it. Whether it's like a ramp someplace, there's this one track I think it's like one of the sand ocean tracks where there's just like a chunk of the track that's like completely gone, but like it's a shortcut. Like you can ramp over it if you want. But that shortcut doesn't come up anywhere else in the game. Like there's nothing else like that. And just like, you know, the final level, it's so different from everything else in the game. And so I want to just like commend this game, even though it doesn't have, I personally don't think it has a ton of replayability. I guess I'm kind of give a little bit of my feelings away here for the end of the episode, but like, I kind of feel the same way about it as I did as a kid, where I'm like, I really want to play some F-Zero, so I'm going to like come in and then dip out once I get what I get out of it. You know what I mean? And I think that's because there is so much variety in just like a compact amount of time that like I can get a lot out of it without having to continuously come back to it and be like, yeah, I need to get better at this. I need to get better at this, or play any of the, and that's there if you want it. Like you can play this on like the hardest difficulty and like actually try and master everything that's here, because there's kind of a lot here. But as for me, who like, I want to play this with another person sitting on the couch next to me, I don't get that. But other than that, like, I mean, I feel like this game is like very fun to play still. I think it feels great to play. This might still be like one of my favorite racing games. And I think just like, I think Chris mentioned in the Retro Recollections, like it's after all this time, it still feels, to me at least, it feels incredibly well to play after all this time.
No, I agree to like some of my gameplay feelings. Like I enjoy playing this game every time I pick it up, no matter how bad I am at it. And like I laugh, but it's like, first of all, I think there's too much weight on winning in games, making games good. Like it's not 1-to-1. Yeah, we all want to win or beat the thing, but like the fact is this game is fun in spite of how bad I am at it, right? And like it's because the controls are so tight. Like whenever I crashed out, it was never because I was like, oh, this game sucks, or I inputted, you know, I pressed a button, it didn't work. Like there's none of that. It's, oh, I couldn't make that work, or I really struggled to nail that, like thread that needle. I never felt like it was problematic controls. It was a skill issue. And I was okay with that because the game was as responsive as you can make it be based on your skill level with it. I never felt like I was cheated by the controls or how the game worked.
Excited. You get to play your first game all by yourself. This is just for you.
Great.
You got the dock open?
Yeah, I do.
Great. Perfect. This is a game that I would like to call Chart Toppers. And so for this game, I just sent you a Google Sheet containing 10 launch games, specifically 10 launch games, and 10 prices. The prices in the games are randomized, and I will give you 60 seconds to match the price to the game accordingly. Now, these prices, by the way, are according to pricecharting.com, and they are case-in-box prices. For listeners wanting to know what these games are, we have F-Zero, of course. We have Altered Beast for the Sega Genesis, Mario's Tennis for the Virtual Boy, Tetris for the Game Boy, Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast, Pilot Wings 64 for the N64, Clue Land for the Nintendo, Alien vs. Predator for the Jaguar, Clockwork Knight for the Saturn, and the Legendary Axe for the TurboGrafx 16. Matt, I hope that gave you a little more time to look at these prices.
Yeah.
And so with that, we will start on 3, 2, 1. Oh man, you are working quickly.
I feel like some of these are a trick question, but I mean, that's the whole point, right?
What? Matt, I would never trick any of my guests.
No, never. Not you.
No, that's never happened.
Let's see. I think
20 seconds.
Okay, I think I got it. Mostly random guessing with a little bit of logic.
7 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's see what you got, Matt. Hands off the desk. Pencils down.
And see my pretty painted nails.
So the first game we have here is F-Zero, of course, for the Super Nintendo. You claim that F-Zero is case and box, by the way. $70.97. Matt, that is absolutely correct.
Yes, let's go.
Wow, impressive. Very impressive.
Gonna start
Listener,
strong and then fail after.
Altered Beast for the Genesis. You claim that is worth $22.99. Sorry, that was not supposed to be anticipation. I literally couldn't find the soundboard here. That is correct.
Oh my God. All right. I didn't think I'd get more than one, so I'll take 2.
Incredible.
Incredible. I think part of it is having a co-host on a podcast who is a collector who has a massive video game collection and doing at conventions, a lot of shopping around. So I get vibes of stuff, but also I don't think I've ever seen Alien vs. Predator for the Jaguar in the wild. So that was absolutely just a guess.
It was a deep pull. Pull. I had to throw some. I was like, I can't have anything new around here because they're all $12.
Right, exactly.
It'd be too obvious. All right. The next launch game here, we have Mario's Tennis for the Virtual Boy. You claim that this is $164.97. Matt, I'm sorry. Mario's Tennis is $288.60.
That means I will be getting at least one other one wrong.
Very true. This is where it could all fall apart, where everything's all messed up.
Yeah, true.
Next, we have Sonic Adventure.
Nope, you skipped Tetris for the Game Boy.
Oh, I sure did. Oh, I even had it highlighted, like I knew it was next. Tetris for the Game Boy, you say, is $289.35. It is actually $95.63.
Huh. Not as rare as I thought it was, I guess. Bummer.
Yeah, I'm not paying $95 for Tetris. I'm sorry.
I mean, me
it's
neither.
a good game.
Yeah. Well, I can play on 18 other things for $20.
Yeah, exactly. But next, we have Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. I'm sorry, Matt. You said it was 58, but that was close. It was $60.80.
I was in the ballpark.
Next, we have Pilot Wings 64, of course, for the N64. You have that at $95.63. That is the game that is $58.
All right. I think it's all goes to hell here, I think, at this point. We'll see.
Oh, man. This one hurts. Clue Clue Land for the Nintendo. I have two prices here that are very close to each other, Matt.
Oh, it must have been the 48, huh? Yeah.
Mm,
No?
You have it at $288.60.
I do.
This is at $289.35.
Oh, that's where the Tetris price. I moved that.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Now we have, of course, the much wanted Alien versus Predator for the Atari Jaguar.
I think the way this is shook out, these could either both be correct, the next two, or they could both be wrong because I swapped them. God damn it. All right. Well, let's see how this goes.
You have that at $65.50. It is actually $164.97. Very expensive.
Very expensive. All right.
For a game nobody should probably play.
Correct.
And now we have Clockwork Knight for the Saturn. You have at $48. A Clockwork Knight is $48.
Yeah, all right. I got another one right before the end. All right. I'll take it. Honestly, I did two better than I thought I would. So, I'm happy as far as I'm concerned.
And then, of course, the legendary axe for the TurboGrafx 16 previous episode of the podcast. That is not $60.80, Matt. I'm sorry. That is, of course, $65.50. Very close, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed I got three right, and I was in the ballpark for like three of them, too. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of prices in here that were like $2 to $3 off. So it could have like gone either way. But that's kind of the idea of the entire game, right? I want to get something prices that are a little close. I also want to get those astronomical prices to really throw you off.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the game, man. I mean, 3 out of 10. And like I said, you were flying through these. I was really surprised. You even with 15 seconds left, you're like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm living with this.
Yeah,
live and die by it. That has been Chart Toppers. So let's kind of finish off our discussion of F-Zero here with the presentation, and we kind of dipped into it a little bit with gameplay, and that's just kind of like the natural progression of things. That's how things usually go. I guess I'll start off with the presentation. I'm just gonna flat out say this is phenomenal. I think the soundtrack for F-Zero is perfect. This is a soundtrack that is it's so good. From title screen to end credits, this thing is fantastic. It has this weird every lo-fi artist I feel takes from this game, right? Is this the creation of lo-fi or something? It's this blend of synth pop rock and I don't know, the only stinker here is Sand Ocean. I think that's the weakest track, but even then on its own it's not really a bad track. It's just that everything around it is so damn good and just such classic song. I don't, Mute City, Big Blue, those two songs alone are I can hear them. I can just bring them up in my head at any moment. They're such good earworms. You brought up Silence earlier. That's such a good song. It's perfect, and it works so well. The visuals of the game, there's such a good handshake between the soundtrack and the visuals. And speaking to the visuals, I love that idea of the tracks being miles above a city, right? And I think the way the Mode 7 pulls that off is even still kind of convincing. Because in a lot of racing games, you're not actually really paying that close attention to like your surroundings. And because F-Zero is so fast, that's even more of the case with a game like F-Zero, because you're not like technically going to be just like really peering off the sides of the track because you're too busy racing. So you're not going to notice like, oh yeah, this is just like this weird flat image underneath the entire track. Because like, yeah, I mean, it's not like the most detailed looking JPEG that you're flying over, but also like it's detailed enough to make it look like it has like some depth, and you can make out some structures. And if you even look closely, there are like pixels that move around on like that mode 7 JPEG that like simulates traffic moving underneath you. And even just like the visual design, like the colors and stuff is just, it's so complimentary in like the right ways. And like I said earlier in the gameplay, like each track is just so distinct that everything just like pops like right off the screen. I feel like I'm just ranting here at this point, so I'll let you take it away.
So, I mean, I agree with everything you said. This is easily one of the best 16-bit soundtracks ever made, full stop, without any hesitation or hyperbole. Every song is a banger, even the weaker ones. And like Mute City and Big Blue are iconic music tracks. I mean, the remixes they've gotten in the Smash games, also incredible. The later versions of them in other games also, because a lot of these tracks reoccur and their themes reoccur but get remixed or changed. Like the soundtrack is why I wanted to be on this episode. I like all of the game, but like I have Nintendo Music. It's a dumb app. We can all agree, right? It's limited. They don't have every Nintendo soundtrack ever on there. They release stuff in waves. It's the typical Nintendo nonsense. And I say this as a Nintendo fanboy, but they have all of the F-Zero soundtracks for all the games that have come out on NSO, which is all 4 games. I think the GBA game is on I think all 4 games, the main title games are on NSO and in the music app. And like, I listen to these soundtracks unironically all the time, especially when I'm writing, if I need to focus, if I'm not listening to the soundtrack of the game I'm writing about. Like, yeah, these soundtracks are incredible. And like, especially Mute City and Big Blue have this kind of synth rock sound that you can find pretty ubiquitously through indie games and through indie music now. That's definitely influenced by this time, without a doubt. And those bands do great work with it too. I think of like a band off the top of my head, Anamanaguchi, who did the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack for that game. They're doing the new Scott Pilgrim game that's coming. Like, they do tons of a variety of chiptune music, but a lot of their faster paced stuff absolutely sounds like they came from this game. And yeah. And then like the visuals, this is the game that's the poster child for Keep It Simple, Stupid, and that will make sprites always age better than polygons. Now, I have a love for N64 and PlayStation games. I think that some of them, even the ones that don't look great, are still nostalgic to me, and I enjoy how they look. But also something that Nintendo has done well, and the reason a lot of Nintendo games age better, even the polygonal error, than PlayStation, is because of the art direction, the fancifulness, right? Like Super Mario 64 is always going to look good because it's basic shapes and basically looks like a cartoon, right? And F-Zero is the same thing. It looks like a cartoon, like it looks like an anime, like a racing anime. And the simple design choices, how sleek and the specific shapes they use for the cars, like they're either round or triangular. Like none of them are these really crazy intricate ship shapes. They are very sleek, and it just makes it memorable. And yeah, like you said about the stages, like I love that when you're playing any of the Mute Cities, like there's a city beneath you. Like it's mostly lights and colors. You can't really see anything, but it gives that vibe, especially when you're moving fast. It's easily, as a launch title, still one of the best looking SNES games. And yeah, like I said, easily in my top 10 video game soundtracks of all time, and one of, I think, the best video game soundtracks ever made. It's just cover to cover is just banger after banger.
Yeah, and also, speaking of the sound design as well, is also very good. And I kind of alluded to that in my previous history with the game as a kid, where I was just like, oh man, the ship goes pop, like when it blows up. Like, it is a violent explosion sound that is absolutely devastating even still. Like it is, like, because I had to intentionally crash my ship because I'm so good at this game, Matt. I didn't actually fly off the track at any point. But I was like, no, I have to see what that was like why was this so addicting? And then I was just like, oh yeah, that is still some really good, like that is, you are blowing the when you crash. Yeah. So that's very good. But then there's also like more subtle stuff happening. Like when a racer is coming up behind you, you can hear their shit behind you, and you can hear whether they're to the left of you or to the right of you. And then as they pass you, there's a specific sound of like the ship whirring by that you stop hearing once it passes you. It's like, dude, it's so good. And then even just like, I mentioned pumping the acceleration as you're taking turns, and even just like the hum of the ship as it like gets that burst of energy or whatever as you're like pumping the acceleration is just, it's so good. It's you buy into this like futuristic racing environment so well because of how smart the sound design is, and the music and the visuals, and just how it all just marries each other so well.
Yeah, I mean, it lends again to what I said about keeping it simple, right? Like none of the sound effects in this game are overly complicated, or elongated or overly detailed. Like I just think about the healing sound when you drive under the whatever it is that floats down and heals you.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Or even hitting the sides of the track, this like electricity sound. It's basically like crinkling paper or akin to that, but it gives the vibe so strongly along with the visuals. Like there are games that you viscerally remember the sound effects. Like I think for both of us, the ring sound in a Sonic game or the coin sound in a Mario game, like I say it, you hear it, right? It's just ubiquitous. Yep. This is another sound like that they're so distinct and simple that as we talked about the game, I could hear the whir of the cars or the whoosh of the track or all of it. And like, because of how well and intricately designed it was.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
We shouted out earlier when you were just talking about the Mode 7, but like the intros to every race are just awesome. I never skip them. They look cool. Like it's such a simple choice, but spinning around the car, showing, I mean, even when you're choosing your car in the select menu, we didn't mention this, but also the cars rotate there and look really cool. And like, then when you select it, it turns and locks in. Like, yeah, I love how they show, like, it's a showpiece. Chris was right in the Recollections. It's basically a tech demo, but it's one of the best tech demos I've ever played. Like, it's got a ton of fun and it's well made. It's not a tech demo to just go, oh yeah, we can do some stuff. It's like, let us show you what we can do with this new console and all the things we can do with it. And it's, again, to this day, I think sets the standard for a lot of futuristic racing games. Again, it's spawned tons of spin-offs, spiritual successors. The main series has been dead for a while, but there have been other futuristic, fast-paced racing games that all kind of link back to this.
If there's any listeners out there who are like, oh yeah, I've heard Butte City, and yeah, I've heard Big Blue, which also like those two songs, like, I mean, you want to talk about video game music that has been covered to death. Like you could pretty much find any artist out there covering that song, or those songs. But if you want to like, if you've heard those songs, but you're not familiar with any other songs from this game specifically, again, check out Silence. Port Town is also very good. And then also special shout out to the results screen. It's a very subdued little song, but it's still really good.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be. That time where we summarize our thoughts and find out if we would recommend checking out F-Zero in 2025. And you're the guest tonight, so I'll let you go last. For me, yeah, I don't have to think about this too hard. Like, absolutely. Like, this is a full recommend for me. Like, this might be to be one of the best racing games of all time, if definitely not like one of the best of its era. Like I said, I think the replayability for F-Zero is low, but that's not really anything against it. I feel like a lot of arcade racers of this time, I think the replayability for those games are particularly low, especially for a game that doesn't have 2-player in it. These are the types of games I think that you turn on and have like a good hour with it, and you're in and you're out. And like I said, I played for the podcast, I played this on the lowest difficulty, and I had an awesome time with it. Like I said earlier in the gameplay, there are higher difficulties if you want to sit with the game longer than that and make like an afternoon or like a day or two out of it. And that's fine. And you might do that. When this episode drops, F-Zero will be turning 35 in like November. And it plays like it came out yesterday. It looks like it came out yesterday when we were talking about like where a lot of indie games kind of take their inspiration from. Like on paper, like Chris said, kind of like what you said, yeah, this is a tech demo. This is a tech demo. This is showcasing what the Super Nintendo is capable of, and it showcases that in spades. But I think because of its genre, because it is a racing game, I think it transcends that tech demo tag. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a full recommend. I could keep ranting, and at this point, I think I'll let you take the wheel here and close us out.
Sure. I mean, I agree. I have no reason to delay the inevitable. Like, this is a wholehearted recommend. You should play this. And I would disagree on the replayability, only that it's replayable in the sense that every time you come back to it, you will have fun with it. It's not something you're going to play every day or for months on end. Most people, some people might, but it's something that every time you come back to it, every year, every few years, every 5 years, you will always have a good time with it. It just, like you said, it's almost 35 years old, which makes me want to turn to dust. But it plays like, so to not tangent too far, Jeff and I think it was last year. May of last year, interviewed an incredible creator named Brennan Anderson, who was the lead, basically solo dev of a game called Star Racer that's on Steam right now. I think it's still in early access, but it is F-Zero. It is a 16-bit racing game with some combat. It mixes like Star Fox and F-Zero, and it is great. It needs, it needed to be polished when we played it last year, but it is awesome. And like, it's basically this is a new-ish indie game that's trying to do what was done 35 years ago with its own spin. It's not a clone, but like, that's the impact of this game. So not just to plug episode 168 of Funny Games, where you can hear that incredible interview, but also it's like proving your point, Keith, that like people are still chasing that dragon, especially since Nintendo ain't doing it. So like, this is definitely one of those influential games that like, if I had to recommend the top 10 titles for the Super Nintendo, this would easily be on the list. It wouldn't be at the top for me, but it would easily be on the list. It's required playing. And if you've never played this and have access to NSO or other legal means on the PC, and have never played this game, play it. Even if you spend a half hour with it, you will get what this game is about, and it will totally be worth your time. I can't recommend it enough. It is, and if you don't want to play it because you don't like racing games at all, go listen to the soundtrack, because the soundtrack alone is also worth it. Like, worth the price of admission. You don't need to have played the game to appreciate how banging those tracks are. But yeah, F-Zero gets a full-hearted recommend from me. Like, it's worth it. Whether you spend a half hour or 8 hours with it, you're going to have a good time.
I'm fist pumping because we've agreed fully on a video game.
I know. Everybody, right? What's that about?
Everybody gets one.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Spider-Man.
We'll see what happens next week. But before we talk about that, you already kind of plugged your podcast, so never mind. No, I'm kidding. The spotlight's yours. Let everybody know where they can find you if they haven't heard you on the show before. Sure. I am at AK Stormageddon. The best place to find me online right now is djstormageddon.com, which is my link tree. It has my socials. It has both of my podcasts, Fun and Games and Reignite. Fun and Games broadly is a topic-based discussion show where me and Jeff, either just the two of us or bringing on a guest, talk about
genre retrospectives, console retrospectives. We interview game developers, as I mentioned earlier. We interview composers. We talk about, like, is grinding in games too much? What's a good way of signposting in video games? Are open world games overwhelming and anxiety inducing? Like, all sorts of broad topics about the games industry. It's a really good time. And then we have a sub-series within that feed called Side Quests, where a different host every episode talks about a game they love and why they love it. Keith did an incredible episode on A Link to the Past. That's right. Keith actually likes games and talked about loving a video game. I mean, you do say that every week.
We just did that for 2 hours.
I know, it's true. No, it's true. It's the bit is less funny if we actually agree, unfortunately. But you also do say every week that it's okay to like a video game. And that was a great episode that Keith did, and overdue to come back and do another. But it's a fun series where people, not just podcast hosts, but literally anybody, listeners of the show, whoever can send me a voice memo, can talk about a game they love and why they love it, free of judgment, which is rare on the internet these days. So it's why I created that space. And then briefly, Reignite is a play-along podcast, started as a Mass Effect podcast where me and my co-host, Frankie Bradley Lestrange, created Commander Shepard in our image and made decisions as Commander Shepard, and then discussed why we made those decisions. And then more importantly, which aliens we wanted to fight. Because honestly, that's all that really matters in those games. We went on to play Andromeda. Now we're doing the Dragon Age series. We're currently in the midst of Dragon Age 2. We like to say ATAB, all Templars are bastards. So if you really like storytelling in games, discussing why we fall in love with video game characters and decision making, Reignite is worth checking out. And then if you want to interact with me online, I'm most active on Blue Sky, DJStormageddon.com over there. And I'm sort of active on Instagram, DJ_Stormageddon over there.
And if you're as incredibly impressed as I am that they have their plugs all laid out and have that stuff hammered down, packed, you're definitely going to enjoy everything that Matt and Jeff do at Fun and Games, and things that Matt and Frankie do over at Reignite, especially if you're into Mass Effect and Dragon Age stuff. That stuff's not for me, but I mean, Fun and Games I will vouch for. I mean, it's a great time. And also thank you for letting me spew my filth on your podcast about A Link to the Past. But
happy to have you. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I love this pod. I am glad to guest on it. And, hint, hint, the listeners won't have to go that long without me.
This is true. We are having a marathon. You are my co-host for the next 2 weeks. I don't know if Jeff and Frankie need to be worried or what, but
if I take on another podcast, my wife will divorce me, I think. Like I used to have like 4. I'm good with 2, but happy to join you for a couple weeks in a row for sure.
Yeah, next week it's going to be a long time coming. I am returning to a franchise, one of my favorite franchises. Listen, there's a couple stinkers in everybody's, favorite franchises. So, I mean, it's a love-hate relationship here. I am returning to a series that I have not covered since 2021. Dude, we're talking about Final Fantasy IV. It's a big one.
Yeah, could be fun.
Yeah. So until then, I hope everybody takes care of themselves, and always remember, it's okay to like a video game.